You need people like me. You need people like me so you can point your fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Okay, we'll start with this. Former champion Mio Yoshida is still beating the drum for her crack at the apple at Shernika Johnson based on the IBF's current ranked standings, where Yoshida currently ranks at number 1. She posted this recent Boxing Scene article to her Instagram page that reads, "I am ready to challenge Johnson. She is a respected champion, but I will emerge as the undisputed bantamweight champion of the world when our fight is finished." Yoshida is 37 and claimed the WBO junior bantamweight titles in 2019 and 2021. Then in 2024, as a late replacement, she won a 10-round decision over then-champion Ebony Bridges to win the IBF at bantam before losing it to Sherita Metcalf, quite controversially, I might add.
Yeah, I saw that fight. That was in New York. A lot of people thought Yoshida won the fight.
Yoshida's manager, Keith Sullivan, argued to the IBF that the scores and outcome failed to reflect Yoshida's efforts. In January, the IBF ruled that Yoshida should be their number 1 contender and she should face Metcalf by October, except that didn't happen because Metcalf lost the belt to Johnson, stopping Metcalf in the 9th round. Yoshida last fought in a boxing ring in February, keeping busy against Beata Dudek and winning a 10-rounder. Johnson versus Yoshida is the best fight to make at bantam, said Sullivan. Champion against the most dangerous contender. This is the fight fans deserve to see. Mio Yoshida never lost her standing in this division. She lost her title on paper. She's the IBF mandatory for a reason, and to fight with Johnson is the rightful next chapter. I wouldn't be mad if towards the end of the first quarter of this year or the beginning of the second, Yoshida actually got that fight with Shernika Johnson. I don't believe it's the best fight to make at bantamweight.
The best fight is the Dina Thorslund fight. The issue is that Dina is otherwise preoccupied right now with a comeback fight that she's having in her native Denmark, and we have to see how that goes, and however long it takes her to recover from that fight.
Shernika Johnson fought at the end of last year. Dina is fighting at the beginning of this one. We have to see how that fight goes before you do a fight between them, so that if while Dina is dealing with that, Shernika is dealing with this.
With Yoshida.
I wouldn't be mad if for no other reason than at some point you're going to have to take care of Mio Yoshida. She is ranked at number 1 via the IBF. If you take care of her voluntarily before the IBF orders you to do it, you can then get her out the way and keep the way clear for the Dina Thorslund fight.
On this schedule,
Dina's fighting towards the end of this month, so if Shernika were to take care of Mio in March or April,
at the beginning of the spring,
you could then do the fight between them in the summer months. That would be ideal. I don't feel that Mio Yoshida is a threat to Shernika Johnson's title reign. She's not the monkey wrench that's going to mess up the Dina Thorslund fight. I feel that Mio Yoshida's methodology is a bit too similar to Shernika's, except that Shernika is fresher and younger, just as experienced as Mio Yoshida as a fighter with more upside. Both fighters have been champions at more than one weight. Both fighters have had their fair share of fights with very good fighters, some ups, some downs. Experience is about the same,
but ability is not.
Mio Yoshida is best described as a mid-range to inside fighter, pressure fighter, and Shernika Johnson shows that same ability, but she's not limited to fighting that way. I remember when I first saw Shernika in action, she was more of a boxer and more of a mover. She's only really recently fallen into this more aggressive base style
in recent years.
And at 37 years old, I don't get the impression that Mio Yoshida can beat Shernika at her own game. You're going to try to do what she's doing, except she's fresher, she's younger. I think she's stronger.
Punch for punch, I do think Shernika Johnson is meaner. I do think she's stronger. I think she would overpower Mio Yoshida in a firefight. And thus, MVP can do it on one of their upcoming cards. Give Mio the opportunity she's asking for, if for no other reason than to get her out of the way and keep the way clear, because Shernika can handle this assignment. She can beat her.
It'd be an entertaining fight and another opportunity to promote Shernika, because she is easy on the eyes, that's immediately apparent.
No, gotta beat around the bush. Her good looks make her more marketable than some other fighters, and it really helps that she's actually a good fighter, that she actually has ability. Very easy to promote.
They can do this fight, and it would be relatively inexpensive. Mio Yoshida's not the kind of fighter you have to break the bank for. In men's super middleweight news, former champion Jaime Munguia has already rejected an IBF world title offer. Osleys Iglesias' search continues. The wait for Osleys Iglesias' next opponent continues after Canelo withdrew from the running last week. The IBF's next available contender, Jaime Munguia, did the same this past Monday. The ring's number one rated super middleweight contender, Iglesias, has been patiently awaiting clarity on his next move, having blasted beyond Vladimir Shishkin after 8 rounds in their world title eliminator on September 4th.
The Cuban-born, Canadian-based fighter promoted by Eye of the Tiger Management. That's the same Eye of the Tiger that promotes fighters like Mary Spencer,
Christian Mabili. Alongside Top Rank, they also promote Osleys Iglesias. The 28-year-old will next box for the IBF's vacant strap after champion Terence Crawford announced his retirement last month, though the sanctioning body are no closer to finding a willing opponent in their top 10 rankings. Eye of the Tiger president, Camille Estefan, Iglesias' promoter, accepted the fight within 5 minutes of receiving an email from the IBF, while Munguia's representatives at Zenfer refused the fight. Several hours later, that means the New Jersey-based body must continue to go down their rankings.
Is this a duck?
Has Osleys Iglesias already become the super middleweight division's new boogity man, since Canelo and Jaime have both turned him down? The number 5 rated Callum Smith will be unavailable after suffering an upset 10th round stoppage loss to Troy Williamson on December 20th, 2 weeks after the latest ratings update. Hamza Shiraz sits at number 6, though has been ordered to face Diego Pacheco for WBO World Honors and could be instead pursuing the WBC as well. Russia's Pavel Silyagin is number 7 and scored a career-best win over Pablo Elzikio Corzo in July, while former champion William Skull and Munguia's former foe Bruno Surace are also among the top 10.
Is this a duck? Osleys Iglesias of Cuba seems to have a good number of Mexican fighters running scared. But I'll tell you that in today's digital era of knee-jerk reactions and sensationalist headlines, clickbait and rage bait, I don't actually think it's a duck. Frankly, I don't think either Canelo or Jaime know who Osleys Iglesias is.
It's not me making a blanket statement to absolve them of any criticism. If you want to criticize them, go ahead. But being honest with you, I don't think they know this Iglesias kid, because where would they have seen him? He's based out of Canada. He's got no ties to any of the major promotional outfits in the big boxing markets like the United States or the United Kingdom. His fights.
Where the fuck would they have seen them that they should be afraid?
You say that one guy is avoiding another, it's because that guy knows there's something to be afraid of there. There is something to be avoided, whereas I think the somebodies at 168 are largely ignorant to Osleys Iglesias, whether you like him or not.
I don't think they know who the man is to even be afraid of him.
So then why would they have rejected this opportunity to box for an alphabet title if it's not out of fear?
Well, it was already reported that Canelo Alvarez would not be returning anytime soon, that he would not be returning to action in his customary Cinco de Mayo date this year, and he would instead return to action much later on in September. So he already wasn't available for this fight.
With Jaime Munguia, I think it's a little bit different, and I'm not in the business of making excuses for this fighter, but I really don't think him or his team know who Iglesias is, and I don't think they want to be subject to the IBF's rehydration cap. You can't discount that either, that of the 4 alphabet organizations, only the IBF has a limit on how much you can rehydrate to right before the fight. There are a lot of fighters out there that don't want to be subject to that.
I've heard it said by so many people so many times over the years, why is it that you don't often see familiar faces in the IBF's ranked standings? That's why.
The familiar names and the guys who can draw do not want to be subject to a rehydration cap, and per the IBF's bylaws, any fight involving their title, save a unification match, comes with a rehydration cap. That makes their job harder, and they don't want that.
The only time the IBF waives it is if there's more than one alphabet title on the line, which there would not be in this fight with Iglesias.
I don't have the same knee-jerk reactions as everybody else, or I'm as quick to dub any unbeaten up-and-comer, any Ms. New Booty fighter to the status of a bogeyman. Sometimes they just don't know who the fuck you are, or they have better options. I'm not gonna be quick to dub.
Oh look, it's an unbeaten Cuban fighter at super metal. He's scary.
Yeah, where have I heard that before? Isn't that what they used to say about David Morrell? And he hadn't even beaten anybody relevant at 168. How is he looking now at 175? Is he looking like a bogeyman? That we should now rush to assumptions and jump to conclusions when it comes to yet another unbeaten Cuban in Osleys Iglesias. He might be good. He might be very good. But he hasn't proven that. Not to me, and not yet. And not based on this. People might be passing you over for some other reason.
In case you haven't noticed, a lot of the somebody fighters generally don't go the IBF route.
Now, there are two other fights they mentioned besides the Canelo fight that isn't going to happen, or the Munguia fight that isn't going to happen. They also mentioned William Skull, but I don't see that happening either, because William is Cuban, so is Osleys Iglesias. One is based out of Germany, and the other out of Canada. But you tell me how many times you've seen two Cuban fighters box each other. It generally doesn't happen.
The more realistic fight, and I think the better fight, for Osleys Iglesias would be the Bruno Surace fight. Bruno made a name for himself, upsetting Jaime Munguia in his own neck of the woods, knocking him out. And even if Jaime avenged the loss, it wasn't the same way that Bruno beat him. Bruno knocked you out. You had to settle on a decision, so that if Osleys goes in there with that same Bruno,
and he does what Jaime Munguia didn't do, he stops that guy, I think that is worth something. I think Bruno would be receptive to the fight because it's for a world title. And Osleys Iglesias would be receptive to the fight because he doesn't have much of a choice. And Bruno would still be more of a somebody than the guys that he's been fighting.
I'll take it.
If you tell me that a few weeks from now, Osleys Iglesias is going to try to make a name for himself with Bruno Surace, I'll take it. I think that's a good litmus test for him to gauge his abilities against, say, a Jaime Munguia.
I'll take it.
In men's heavyweight news, former champion Daniel Dubois' team set the target return date and opponent as he eyes a huge fight on the heels of his knockout loss, his second knockout loss, to Alexander Usyk.
He's still dangerous to everybody else.
Daniel's boxing return is being targeted within the first 5 months of this year. Dubois has been out of action since he fought Alexander Usyk in July of last year.
Losing the fight in July actually did give Daniel enough time that if he wanted to return and get back in the winner's bracket before the year was out, he could have, but he chose not to. He chose to sit out. Not only that, but change his training team.
The Brit was on a 3-fight winning streak heading into his rematch with Usyk, but was brutally stopped in the 5th round. Dangerous Daniel Dubois has since made changes to his team following that loss, which included bringing Sam Jones on board as his manager. Jones is now revealed when fans can expect to see the former IBF champion lace up the gloves again and who he is targeting upon his return.
He's already a veteran, Daniel, and he's not even 30. At 28 years old, he's already been in there with Joe Joyce and Jarrell Miller, Alexander Usyk 2 times, Anthony Joshua. He's won some fights, and he's lost some fights, all of which I think make him even more dangerous.
Sam Jones told IFL TV he'll be back out soon. April, at the latest, May. Fabio Wardley is a champion, so it would be a voluntary defense. But outside of AJ, Tyson Fury, Usyk, Dubois is the biggest name for Flavio to fight, which would therefore generate the most money.
Sam isn't wrong. And are you noticing a pattern?
Fabio is fast becoming one of the most sought-after fights in the heavyweight division. Sam continued, if Fabio Wardley gets the Usyk fight, then all credit to him. He deserves that opportunity, but if he wants to make that fight, we can make it very, very quickly.
They are both with Queensberry Promotions, and they are both Brits. You know those Brits. They love a good domestic dust-up, and that's why I've grown to love them. Getting two Americans to do anything with each other is notoriously difficult, whereas fights like this in Britain are not only entirely doable, but that's the standard.
Now, Daniel Dubois may already have several career blemishes at only 28 years old, but the saving grace for him is that the British boxing scene is such that it really doesn't matter. If you told people that Danny's gonna fight Flavio in his next fight, they would show up. They would want to see it. And so would I. That fight is a distinct possibility. Even if I don't feel that that is going to be the next fight for Flavio, it's definitely one that can happen later on in the year.
Why can't it be next?
It's not because of Danny, it's because of Fabio. You see, he's had a tough run of fights as of late. That Justice Huni fight, even if he snatched victory from the jaws of defeat, he got hit a lot in that fight, and he got hit even more in the Joseph Parker fight that some people think was stopped prematurely. Though premature stoppage or not, he took a lot of punishment in that fight too. He's taken a lot of punishment in his last two fights, and that's not even counting the first Frazier-Clark fight. He got hit a lot in that one as well, to where Fabio might want to take his foot off the gas, have an easy title defense in his hometown of Ipswich
Before going back in the deep end.
It actually behooves Daniel for this to not be his next fight because he's going to be breaking in a new trainer in Tony Sims, and don't forget that he is on the bounce. He is on the rebound after his second loss to Alexander Usyk. It could be good for the both of them if they take at least one fight in the interim. Daniel, at least to me, remains one of the more interesting heavyweights in the heavyweight division. He's very much one of the somebodies, losses and all, flaws.
Still brings things to the table that not just any heavyweight can stand up to. You have to compete at a certain level and be of a certain ilk to beat Daniel Dubois.
I would like to see him rebuild and break in this new training situation before taking on any formidable adversaries. What makes Fabio formidable, in spite of not being as seasoned as Daniel over the years, is he does have that one-hitter-quitter power that has bailed him out more than once. Daniel's tough and very persistent, big and strong.
So if Flavio lands on you like he landed on Justice Huni, that punch would have knocked out a moose.
It's one of the things that Fabio Wardley has. Natural snap in the punches and suddenness. His X's and O's could use a lot of work, but as a physical specimen, he's quick for a heavyweight, sudden for a heavyweight. At the same time, Danny Boy is explosive and strong in his own right. A fight between them makes for a firefight, to where it really is whoever lands first.
Fabio can knock out Danny, but Danny can knock out Fabio. He can bust him up.
Gets my juices going.
Yeah.
The thought of these two boys locking horns at some point this year, I like it.